Welcome to r.comliance. In today's stories, I don't care if you're sick, if you don't attend the final exam, you'll fail the subject. You want me to go to class with IVs? Alright. And you want me to finish the kids section first? What is up guys, and I do hope you're well. If you enjoy Reddit stories, consider hitting that like, that subscribe button and that notification bell, as it really does help us keep us pushing forward and all that good stuff. And with that being said, let's get straight into it. Our first story is from ZenetX. I don't know how to pronounce it any other way. I don't care if you're sick. If you don't attend the final exam, you'll fail the subject. This story happened to me in college many years ago, and to this day, whenever I remember it, I let out a smile. I graduated in a traditional and very strict engineering school. At the time, there were not substitutive exams of any kind, no matter the reason, so it wasn't uncommon for people to fail subjects because they couldn't attend the test day. In the end of my last year, I don't know how or why, since I took the vaccine, I got chickenpox. Luckily for me, I didn't suffer at all. Maybe a day with mild fever, and that's it. All the itching was completely mitigated with medicine, although externally I looked really bad. More concerned about my appearance than anything, I called and asked if I could take my exam another day. The lady who answered it immediately denied my request, as expected. Then, being as patient and as kind as possible, I tried to explain my situation, but she was very rude and cut my explanation short, not letting me even say what my illness was. As a last attempt, I asked if I could at least take the exam in a separate classroom. Then she told me to wait on the line. I heard some people talking in the background and laughing. After she left me hanging for more than 10 minutes, she comes back just to say there is no way. So I thanked her and hung up. I don't really know what the heck they expected. That I didn't come and failed my very last test? Hell no. So I went, looking absolutely hideous. Not a square inch of my skin didn't have a mad rash, including my face. In the class, after the monitor arrives, he told me to remove my sunglasses and cap, as per regulations, and so I did, including my jacket and medical face mask. Oh boy, I've never forgot his facial expression, and then my fun begins. During the test, I start to fake cough like a man about to die, getting really good on my act. It was really amusing seeing the monitor's reaction from a little apprehension to total panic, until he gave up and left, leaving the class unattended. Barely able to hold bursting laughing at this point, my colleague who got what was going on looked at me, holding his laugh and shaking his head. In the end, I did pretty well on the exam and had my fun, including paying a visit to the lady who left me hanging. Later on, after graduation, I found out through a friend that I became sort of a famous joke, like the guy who came back from the dead to attend his exam. Fair play to you as well. I mean, you did try to phone and explain your situation in a calm manner, so, you know, they get what they deserve. And I bet they was absolutely panicking in the staff room, like, oh my god, we've let this guy in and he's going to infect everybody. They could have gotten in a lot of trouble from that, I imagine. Our next story is from Prehistoric Princess. You want me to go to class with IVs? Alright. This one is from quite a while ago. I have a chronic illness, which was particularly bad when I was in high school. At the time, I was pretty much routinely put on IV antibiotics for 2 weeks at a time, every 3 months to treat recurrent respiratory infections. This usually included several days to a week, inpatient in the hospital, with the remainder of the 2-week course spent outpatient and attached to a small electronic IV pump. Understandably though, I didn't really want to go to school like that. The pump was small enough to be concealed inside an over-the-shoulder purse, which is exactly what I would do. If I was ever dressed in the right kind of long sleeve top, the actual IV could be slipped out the side of the purse and underneath the bottom of my shirt, keeping most people from noticing that anything was amiss. I never really looked sick, but once in a while, the pump would whir and make electronic noises from inside my purse. As a self-conscious and slightly socially anxious teenager who didn't want people to know I had health issues, yeah, I hated the whole situation. At first I begged my parents to let me stay home from school until I got the IV out, but they have always been pretty big sticklers about attendance and always refused. No one will notice your IV, you're just being paranoid. So I sucked it up and complied. Pump, whirring, / ticking sounds and all. That is, until one of my classmates thought that the pump was a bomb in my purse. Oh god. We had spoken before, but we're only really acquaintances, not friends. Upon hearing the sounds coming from my purse, she asked me what they were, and I panicked. I nervously told her it was a secret and asked her to promise not to tell anyone, but if she'd come to the bathroom with me, I'd show what was inside my purse. I was 14 at the time, and in hindsight, it was probably a ridiculous way to handle the situation. But again, I was nervous and didn't want to be known as the sick kid. She got quiet, clammed up, but nodded and followed me. Once we were in the bathroom, and I explained to her I had chronic health issues and that it was an IV pump, she burst out laughing. I had acted so nervous and shifty after she asked about the sounds. Yeah, she wondered if I had some sort of mental break and was hiding an explosive. Maybe kind of a logical stretch, at least at the time. This was around 08-09, but again, we were 14. We ended up bonding after that and became best friends really quick. As a matter of fact, we're still close today. But after I told my parents what happened, that classmate thought I was harbouring a bomb in my purse. They never made me go to school with IVs again. It's not an awful story, this one. It's kind of like a really nice story that you made a friend from it as well. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from, that you wouldn't want to go to school with one of these in your purse if it's making noise and stuff, because that would make me really self-conscious. I mean, oh no, they're looking at me. What if they want to ask what's inside? What do I do next? Just so many questions going through your head, especially at that age. I mean, I was so anxious as a teenager. I worried about what everyone thought, even though they weren't thinking it. Our next story is from Saphira Storm. You want me to finish the kids section first? Alright. When I was young, I really enjoyed reading, and still do. The municipal library had a section for underage readers, books for children and young readers up to 16, and a separate one for adults. Not restricted to adult books, but everything not especially written for children. The usual division was you'd get a yellow library pass for the children's section, or a grey one for the adult section, which included access to the children's section, with separate entrances for the sections. My biggest problem was, I was rather grown up at an early age, so I started reading at 4, read books intended for 10 to 13 at age 8, and so on. And I was only allowed to take 6 books from the library at any one time, so I had to return to get new ones several times a week. Reading only an hour in the evening just before going to bed, I really hated this situation because I knew that adult section had bigger books, more pages, less pictures. Imagine Saint number 5 from Short Circuit, Need Input, which I wasn't allowed to take yet. When I asked about access to the adult section at age 12, the head librarian told me I have to wait until I was 16, 4 long years, and when I whined about children's books being boring and too short, she said I could only have access to the adult section once I read all the books in the children's section, which she didn't believe anybody had ever done. Can't make any exceptions as all librarians were so busy, understaffed. Cue malicious compliance. A few days later, on the first day of our 6-week summer holidays from school, I started reading, not for fun, but with a goal in mind. Leaving aside all the books I've read already, everything even remotely interesting, maybe 3,000 to 4,000 books, there were only 1,500 books in the children's sections I hadn't read yet. At an average of maybe 50 pages, they were easily finished within a few minutes each. For comparison, the last Harry Potter book took me 3 hours to read, so my days were structured like, go to the library, get 6 books, go outside to a bench in the park, read 6 books, return 6 books, repeat until closing time. My turnaround time after leaving the library was between 5 and 60 minutes, depending on the books. Obviously, baby books were like 30 seconds each. What came from this, I discovered science fiction, which I still love, and learned to detest shallow romance novels. I read a lot of books, and the librarians got to know me quite well because I had to register the books to my account, back then done with a number paper slip ripped off the back of my library card. One block of those with 100 slips had to be replaced at least every second day, register them as returned, sort them into the racks again, so I caused quite a lot of work for them, to the extent of basically occupying one of them exclusively. Still, they were really helpful, given we shared a love of books and reading, and some of them actively assisted by keeping a pile of books ready at the counter, to make my turnaround even quicker. Maybe they wanted to stick it to the head librarian. Took me nearly 4 weeks of reading, honing my skills, and then the day came. I returned the last books, some teenager romance novels with a lot of horses, absolutely not what I wanted to read, and asked for my adult library card. The head librarian couldn't believe it, went to check my file, and was met by absolute outrage by the children's librarians who had witnessed what I'd done. She nearly choked when she filled in my grey card with a typewriter, but had good grace to wish me fun for the new exciting world of the adult library. TBH, I did not repeat that with the adult library, so when I left my hometown for university, there were still thousands of volumes left unread there. Today, I make do with an unlimited ebook reading package from a big company. I simply can't afford to buy as many books as I read. Wow! How do you read that many books? That's crazy! Oh man, I'm more of a Where's Wally kind of guy. It's something I've always wanted to do. I get so jealous of like seeing people in Costa and stuff, or just on the train reading. I can read, obviously, but it's just like I just can't do it. I like start reading a book, I'm just like, oh no, this is just too boring. And then I know you're going to question me, why the hell are you reading these things then? I actually read these. This is like real life drama most of the time. And I know you can get books on that, but I love reading people's stories. That's my kind of thing. And I've read a lot of those. So I'm going to count that as some kind of reading, alright? Get off my back, alright? Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed these Reddit stories. If you did, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button, and maybe even that notification bell. Much love guys. Have a great day.